just as a rehasher, I was challenged by my wife to watch all the episodes of the hit series The Gilmore Girls. 153 episodes. I'm 3 episodes in now. She says the cap on it is 32, so we'll see if we make it there. I wanted to talk a little bit about Amy Sherman Palladino. What's your take on her? What do you think she's like?
I don't know the first thing about her, honestly.
It really surprises me because you've watched this woman's work for years. And
I feel like we'd be friends.
How do you know?
I think that if you create a world like this that speaks to somebody, that you're probably going to like them.
I don't know. She might be an asshole.
Well, I guess you never know.
Did you know? No, you don't know. I know, because I did the research. She was raised as a ballerina, and she was in the ballet.
I did not know that.
Did you know that she was part of the callbacks for the Broadway musical Cats?
I did not know that.
Yeah. So she got a callback. Obviously, that didn't happen. And she started as a staff writer for Roseanne back on season 3 in 1990. So we watched The Conners this evening, the new spinoff of the Roseanne Free Roseanne show.
Yes.
And I was kind of noticing that the writing style on that show, it kind of reminds me of her writing style on sometimes on the Gilmore Girls, but mostly on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. The kind of like the high-speed jokes, like joke.
The Gilmore Girls is very similar to that, too. Yeah. Like that joke, or the dialogue being very quick, very snappy. That's kind of a hallmark Gilmore Girls thing.
So apparently they picked Connecticut. They traveled. Daniel Palladino, her and her husband Daniel Palladino, traveled over there to Connecticut and decided this is where this show needs to take place because they really love the waspy nature of Connecticut. When I hear waspy, I think white. That's what that means, right?
That's kind of the association I've always had with it, yeah.
White, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant,
Whiteness.
So they were the showrunners. Like, they did everything on there for 6 seasons. Created it, wrote it, produced it, directed it. There's all kinds of jobs there on this one show, this series. That's a lot of work. So they went in, and after their 6th season, they tried to renegotiate their contracts. And it didn't end up working. The contracts expired. They didn't get what they wanted, so they left. And you say the series suffers in season 7.
I would say that it steadily goes downhill after like season 4 or 5.
Season
honestly.
4 or 5?
But season 7, yeah, is by far the worst.
So you've got a friend named Sarah who has told me that Rory's pretty insufferable in her college years because she's not balanced out by Lorelai.
She loses some of her adorableness. She loses some of her sparkle.
So, how many seasons is she in this school? Like 2 seasons, 3 seasons, and it's college years? Like, when do we get to the college years? What season?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
So, you know what's funny is I was reading up on her, and she said it was a botched negotiation, Amy Sherman Palladino did, that they couldn't agree on anything. They left, but then the CW had to do everything that they wanted them to do in the first place. They wanted them to hire more staff writers. They wanted an on-set producer and director. They didn't want to have to do all this shit anymore. And that's what they ended up doing anyway, and you say the series suffered for it. I looked up, I wanted to know where this set came from, and apparently it was on the back lot of a Warner Brothers studio. This town, Stars Hollow. And I don't know if you ever watched Dukes of Hazzard.
Not really.
No, I didn't either. But apparently the high school there in Stars Hollow was used as the Hazard County courthouse in Dukes of Hazzard.
Okay.
And then the town square there at Stars Hollow was used in the hit movie Norbit.
Ugh.
that Eddie Murphy classic, Norbit.
The worst movie ever made.
Is that bad?
It's that bad.
Do you want to tell the story about Norbit?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, we hadn't been dating all that long.
Oh, it was long enough, wasn't it?
We started living together.
We met in August, started living with each other together in February.
We met in July, but yeah.
Okay, well, July. Why did I think August?
I don't know.
Maybe because we banged in August.
Oh my god.
Maybe that's what it is. No?
So we hadn't been living together that long. And Randy's 3 younger siblings came to stay with us. Now, there's quite a big age difference. His first oldest sibling is 9 years younger than him, and the youngest one is, how big of a difference is it? Like 15 years?
Which one are you talking about?
Dylan and Abby and Dalton.
Dylan's what, 26?
Yeah.
So that's 10 years, 9 years. Abby's 23?
Sounds right. Dalton's 21.
21. But this was like 10 years ago.
Yes.
So subtract 10 years off of that.
So they come to stay with us at our place. First time they've ever come and stayed, and I desperately want them to like me because at this point I am head over heels in love with you. And so we decide we're going to take them to see Norbit.
So we went to this $2 theater there in St. Joe, Missouri.
If we'd paid anything more than $2 for that movie, I swear I would have walked out.
I'm so glad we only paid $2 a person.
Oh my god!
Still, still $10 total between the 5 of us was still too much.
I agree.
I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it's Eddie Murphy with a bad afro and bad glasses, and he's trying to play ugly and dumb. Was he supposed to be dumb in the movie?
I don't remember. I've tried really hard to block it out. And
he plays the Asian adopted father of Norbit, and then he plays Norbit's girlfriend in a fat suit, Rasputia. I remember that.
I think they're married.
They're married or something. I don't know.
It's basically an hour and a half long fat joke, and none of it's funny, and all of it's terrible.
And then, like, the boom mic shows up several times, and they're like, just leave it in. Fuck it. We don't need to do another shot. Perfect. Well, they used the town square of the Gilmore Girls. Isn't that cool?
It is.
So, episode 3 opens up, and they're at dinner at Emily and Old Dick's, and they're talking about the cooks. There's a new cook.
There's always a new cook.
There's always a new cook or new cleaner. So that's the running gag in the Gilmore Girls. I was going to keep track of it, but I think I'm like 4 behind already because she said there was Mira and Trina and Sophia and Anton, and Old Dick said that his favorite was Anton. But then he says that he didn't realize the difference between the 4 of them. That shows you Old Dick's
not super engaged in the home life.
Nope. And apparently it comes out that Old Dick's mother is Lorelai the first.
Yes.
So there's 3 generations of Lorelai in the family. And they talked about her like that she was not alive anymore.
They do. They make it seem that she's not alive anymore in this episode.
But she shows up.
Yeah, they bring her in later. She's played by the mom from Happy Days.
The mom from Happy Days. Be on the look. Is she hoity-toity like
yes.
Old Dick? So
more so.
So Richard Gilmore comes from old money. It wasn't like he was super successful on his own as a insurance executive.
Yeah.
But they actually come from old money.
Yes.
Huh. And so at the family dinner, Emily's minimizes the happenings at the inn. Notice that happens a lot. And it's brought up that Rory has to pick a sport. She's not athletic, but Chilton, they're making her pick a sport.
Yes.
And
which is fun because they literally never mention it again after this episode.
Really? So we watched a whole hour of golf, and they don't talk about her golfing ever?
Nope.
No golf shenanigans later on?
0 shenanigans.
Oh, whole hour of my life I can't get back. I wrote like 4 pages of copious notes about this golf outing too.
I think it was more about the building the relationship with the grandfather than the actual golf.
So they picked golf, and old Dick golfs. Isn't that convenient?
Oh yeah.
He's always going to the country club. And Emily's mean to Lorelai in this one.
Emily's mean to Lorelai a lot.
And she's like, they're asking if Lorelai's golf clubs are still up in the closet, and Emily's like gathering dust like Lorelai's potential. I was like, I felt like that was a sick burn. Those sick burns happen a lot.
I really feel like if my mom said that about me, I'd probably just cut my wrist immediately.
Why don't you just punch her in the throat?
I'm not punching my mom in the throat ever.
So Emily basically goads Lorelai into letting Rory go out for golf, or go with old Dick to the golf course.
Yes, she's going with Richard to the golf course.
She says that Emily says that Lorelai's afraid, and of course, with Lorelai's pride, that gets her dander up. And Lorelai thinks Rory's going to hate golf, and then Emily turns the tables and says that Lorelai's being controlling. So how do you think that felt?
It's a classic George W. Bush technique.
How's that?
Call your opponent what you are.
Oh. So there's a big wedding going on at the inn. Oh
yes, the wedding.
And I was kind of impressed here because there's a bridezilla, but come to find out there's 2 of them. There's bridezillas, but I'd say the mom's harder to get along with.
Well, the mom just wants it done and over with, and the kid, like the twin women, like away from her. Like the gag is that she can't wait to get rid of them, basically. So
twins are getting married at the inn, and Lorelai's really shining here. I was impressed with her ability to run this whole situation, and she really shines here. It makes her seem less like a shit person. Like this is her time to shine. This is her baby.
Yeah, I agree with that. Lorelai is far from a perfect person. I would say the same about every character in this, but you see here that she's really good at what she does, and that it means a lot to her.
Does Emily ever come around to her being at the inn? Like, she eventually owns the thing.
She eventually owns that inn, yeah.
But I mean, does Emily ever finally like, oh, okay, cool, I'm proud of you for that?
I don't think Emily ever says she's proud of her ever.
Just had some shit about Michelle here giving out gift baskets. There was a Charlie Brown reference. There was no 90s reference. There was a lot of 90s references in the first episode. So the twins are marrying twins.
Which is super creepy.
It's like the Double Mint commercial happening there. Apparently they said midget. There was a midget joke, and they got on to Michelle about saying midget, I think. And I was surprised to hear that even back in 2000, it was a no-no to say midget.
I feel like it's been insensitive for a long time.
Why?
Even when we were little, I remember the polite nomenclature being little person.
Nomenclature.
Oh, don't make fun of me.
So old Dick, of course, isn't sold on taking Rory to the golf club.
Yeah, neither one of them are really big on the idea.
So doesn't want to take her to lunch. Just no. And Emily is treating it as like an opportunity to show Rory off like a show pony.
Yeah.
And there's a reference to a Tiger Woods hat.
Uh-huh.
So there they are, old Dick and Rory on the links. Rory's kind of complaining about the golf course being a good walk spoiled.
Oh, yeah, that's a quote. It's Twain, right?
I don't know. You're the English masters in English.
I really think it's Twain, that golf is a good walk spoiled.
So she's not good at golf. She duffs it a couple times, tearing shit up. Then we get a shot of Jackson's back, haggling with Sookie over the price of... Or actually, there's no strawberries.
He didn't have good strawberries.
Didn't have the good strawberries, so he's trying to... Here's some blueberries. Make blueberry... What
shortcake.
Blueberry shortcake. Nobody's ever had that shit. Lorelai commiserates with Sookie. And I'm assuming... So this is like probably the 4th time in 3 episodes she commiserates with Sookie. And I'm assuming this probably happens on every episode.
Pretty frequently.
Bad situation. Lorelai's got to go to her friend Sookie, and they hug it out.
They're best friends.
Have you ever had a boss like that? Like, so they're best friends, but isn't Lorelai her boss?
I guess technically, yeah, Lorelai would be our manager. It might be more of a lateral thing because Sookie runs the kitchen.
Wow. Have you ever been friends with a boss?
I've certainly had bosses that I've had friendly relationships with. I wouldn't say that they're people that I would like hang out with outside of work, though. I don't know. I've had principals that I really, really liked. My principal now is great.
Yeah. You've said that. Took you to the Fogo de Chao.
I couldn't believe that. It was so nice. It was a big luncheon.
Did you ever bring your problems to her? Are you guys on that level yet?
Well, I mean, a little bit. I've been really open about my mom being sick, for example.
So, I wrote twin sex here because they were talking about, Michelle was making jokes about them mixing up.
Yeah.
Which, I mean...
The whole thing makes me kind of uncomfortable.
I mean, is it cheating if they switch off and don't know it?
I don't know. Do you honestly think they'd not know it?
Probably.
I feel like even kissing someone, like everybody kisses differently.
It's all skin.
I don't agree with that.
I don't know. It reminded me of a Tales from the Crypt episode. I think I told you about this before, where there's an episode where Joe Pesci meets these two women that live alone, and they're twins, and he's trying to make the moves on one, and the other twin's like, we can't do this because, do you have a brother? And he's like, yeah, I do. So old Joe Pesci runs this scam where he plays his own twin, and he comes and visits them as the other brother, so you can have both twins. And he makes the spoiler of the Tales from the Crypt episode from 1988 is that he's laying out by the pool, and part of his robe flings over his back, and he gets a sunburn, and this strip from this robe is the sign that he's the same dude. So they end up cutting him apart, and
they dismember him because he was having sex with both of them?
They cut him in half, and then the end scene is they're laying in bed, and each laying in bed with half of them.
Gross.
Yep. Tales from the Crypt. Let's see here. So we learn more about Dick and his job. He's the vice president of the largest insurance company, and Rory and Old Dick, they really start to warm up to each other, and I think they both realize they have a lot more in common than what they thought. He's a world traveler, and of course Rory's hot button is traveling. She wants to backpack through Europe with her mom, and they run into Gloria, who's an odious woman.
Yeah, they use the word odious.
Like twice. Does she ever show back up?
Not that I'm aware of.
See, I thought there was going to be something funny going on between Gloria and Dick.
You're trying to Dawson's Creek your Gilmore Girls. That's not really how it works.
I've got my cross-pollinating my Dawson's Creek with my Gilmore Girls.
Gilmore Girls is pretty wholesome.
Yeah.
I mean, not wholesome, but it's not Dawson's Creek.
And old Dick's sitting in the steam room with the old rich bastards, and they're bitching at each other about the golf cart, white people problems. And Rory's in the steam room with the old rich women, and here comes Gloria again. Another woman calls Gloria odious, so she must have just been a super bitch.
Yeah, she must be the worst.
So, Kirk shows up at the wedding, setting up for the wedding. Is this the second appearance of Kirk?
Yes.
He's not named, though.
Not yet, no. He was the cable installer, and now he's a swan guy.
Now he's delivering swans. And it comes out that Michelle hates swans. He was attacked by swans.
Which is fun, because you were attacked by a goose.
I was attacked. I don't know what they were. There was multiple feathered animals. What I remember, we were at Krug. Do you remember Krug Park in St. Joe?
I do.
Some people say that it's called Krug Park. Somebody come out and said, "Oh, it's Krug." Well, you've been calling it for Krug Park for 80 years, and it's going to be Krug Park. Mm-hmm. So it's got a castle. Your sister was married there.
Yep.
There's geese and swans and shit. So there's like 5-year-old me, 5-year-old little Randy, standing on the edge of this pond, and I got fresh-faced, not a care in the world, just wants to feed some geese or swans or whatever the hell they are, and standing there on the edge, got a half loaf of bread, and reaching into the bag, and it's a little wet on the side there by the pond, and I slip. Bread goes flying, and here comes them goddamn geese. Wings up, mouths open, ready to attack. And it was all slow motion. It slowed down for me as I screamed and climbed back up the edge of the pond there. Scary shit. So I get that fear. I'm not afraid of geese and shit now, but I can see why people would be scared of them.
Yeah, because Michelle had a really similar experience.
Mm-hmm. So, old codgers drop in on lunch with Rory and old Dick, and they're still talking about traveling and shit. So she's a hit at the golf course. Old Dick and Rory are hitting it off. They've got a lot more in common, literature and such and whatnot. Did you ever have a moment like that with your grandparents? I'm assuming you probably had moments like that with your grandmother with cooking. Like, did you have a moment where you realized, like, you know, hey, we've got a lot in common?
It's an interesting question. My mom's mother is really closer to a mother to me than a grandmother. We spent a lot of time at her house when we were young. I would say that my two youngest aunts are more like sisters than aunts because we all grew up in the same house at the same time. So a lot of what I got from her was just like being in her vicinity, watching her cook, learning from watching, that sort of thing. When we bonded, a lot of it was just that she helped me through some really hard times in my life. My mother's father is still alive as well, and he lived with us briefly after he had shoulder surgery, and I remember kind of bonding with him over that. He told little 10-year-old Nikki that the moon landing might be fake and blew my mind.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I think at Christmas I'm going to ask him what he thinks about that.
And then...
Old Don doesn't believe in the moon landing.
Oh, I would guess he probably does, but he was winding me up, is what I would say. And then both of my father's parents have passed now. My father's father, JC, was just a really cool, special man. I really wish he'd lived long enough for you to see him. And a lot of what we bonded over was just like little moments, kind of like, Richard handing Rory the piece of the newspaper, that sort of thing. And my dad's mom passed when I was 12, but we bonded a lot over cooking. Anytime I went and stayed with her, we would make recipes out of his cookbook, and write little notes in it, and she kept clippings and recipes and things in this cookbook. And I inherited it once she was gone. So, I mean, every relationship is different, but I think it's cool that they've been able to connect in that way.
Mm-hmm. Really helped make Richard a more complete character, because then he was just like the old asshole that didn't listen.
Right, it makes him seem more human.
Yeah.
It softens his edges a little bit.
So we're back at the wedding, and Drella shows up.
Drella!
Apparently Drella's got a thing for Michelle, which that would be a weird, odd couple.
Yeah, that would be super weird.
Considering he's gay.
Yeah, but again, they did not address that until the reboot.
When I was checking out Amy Sherman Palladino, I realized that she had a thing for Alex Borstein, because I think they look alike. Like, they're both short, dark
Amy Sherman Palladino and Alex Borstein?
They look a lot alike. Like, they're both little, short Jewish women, dark hair. So we're back at the golf club, and the old codgers drop in on the lunch with Rory and Dick, and they find out that they're the same. They're the same person. They're family. And so we skip ahead, and Luke and Rory talk. And Luke is just talks all kinds of eco trash on golf courses.
It's interesting because that, like, coffee is bad for you, golf courses are bad for the environment. That loop kind of fades out.
Oh, really?
Especially once Jess enters the picture, Luke becomes a little more crotchety. And at the same time, it's less about, like, the issues and more about just trying to raise this kid.
So when does Jess show up?
I would say that it's fairly early on, but I couldn't tell you exactly. Maybe the end of the first season?
Oh, really? He's not a season 2 thing, and he comes in at the, like, season 1?
It all blurs together. I'm not 100% sure.
I guess we'll find out. So Lorelai is shocked that Rory liked the golf outing, and Rory's talking to Richard. They're talking on the phone, and there's this jealous streak in Lorelai.
Yes.
And where do you think that comes from?
I think that Rory has always been hers, like 100% hers, and now she's starting to lose her.
Do you think she's disappointed that Rory would be sucked into that lifestyle that Lorelai rejected?
I think that there are times where that dynamic comes into play, but at this point it's really just more about her forming this relationship, being close with her father when Lorelai herself couldn't be.
So Miss Patty's teaching the twins how to dance, and I'm pretty sure Miss Patty's putting the moves on one of the twins.
Or both of them.
Or both of them.
Or all of them.
All 4 twins?
She likes to flirt.
Oh. I thought you were going to say she likes to swing.
No, I know.
This conversation was going to take a different turn. There's a phone call from old Dick, and Lorelai's jealous. They're talking on the phone. Lorelai can't believe it. My copious notes. Why did I write in my copious notes, I feel like a woman on a harp?
I do not know.
Oh, that's weird. We shouldn't have spent so much time between shows.
Well, we won't next time. We had technical difficulties. So our plan is to release this podcast every Sunday, but we wound up having issues with the, I don't know if it was the USBs on our old computer or the recording software, so we wound up having to record on a new computer and switch from, what was the old one?
We were using Audacity.
To GarageBand. So it took a little longer than we expected between podcasts, and this may sound a little different.
So Rory's talking books with old Dick. I told you this is the way to Rory's heart. Old Dean got in there, Dean Forrester.
I always want to say Winchester.
Dean Winchester was talking about Melville. That's how he got to her heart. And old Dick was talking about a book. Boom, he's in.
Find out what the girl's interested in.
Babette shows back up, and I looked up Babette.
I do love me some Babette.
Do you know who she is?
She's the daughter from All in the Family?
Yeah, All in the Family. I didn't realize that. She's been in a lot of TV shows, like a crazy amount of TV. She played the voice of Pebbles in the Flintstones.
I had no idea.
Yeah, she's been in a lot of stuff. They were talking about a stuck cat, and apparently Maury is Skinny Pete.
Maury, yes.
The husband, yeah, is her.
The one that you called Skinny Pete.
Skinny Pete, yeah. There was a Madonna and Sean Penn reference.
Oh, that really dates it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's another 90s reference. Lorelai's trying to get out of family dinner, but Rory wants to go.
Yes.
So she's really wanting to hang out with not so much the grandparents, Emily, but was hanging out with old Dick. Lorelai starts busting Rory's balls over sweaters and wearing her clothes. You can see the jealousy and ugliness rear its ugly head there. Boob measuring and titty drama. Got to have the fight between each other, and they got to bring it back together by the end of the episode. Again, twice. Lorelai commiserates with Sookie, explains her feelings, and she wants to undermine Rory and the grandparents' relationship. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't find it admirable necessarily. I feel like if I were in Lorelai's shoes, I would probably want my kid to have a relationship with her grandparents. But, I mean, it is what it is.
So, Sookie finds her strawberries. Sookie's cheating on Jackson with another fruit man.
She cheats on Jackson.
Jackson catches her.
Of course.
There's a chase scene.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, they gonna fuck.
God.
Don't know when, don't know where. Sookie and Jackson, they gonna fuck. Wedding, reception, dance. It's a big success. Can you imagine it's a double wedding? Can you imagine the double nightmare out of that?
I really can't. Like, even a small, modest wedding like ours was a nightmare, and this was a big affair.
Our wedding, yeah, like you said, I mean, it was 2 days after Christmas. But it's like, you know I'm going to show up. I know you're going to show up. But you don't know what the people involved, other people involved are going to do.
Right.
Like, that's the wild card, and that's what causes the stress in the wedding. Just craziness.
You know, one of the, like, sick things that goes on in my mind is I've always wanted to see somebody get left at the altar.
You're mentally ill.
I know. I've also always wanted to see somebody get hit by a car. Not like splattered.
What if
just tapped? I just want to see somebody have to think about their life.
What if, like, Runaway Bride happened, like, the bride runs away and then she gets hit by the car?
Oh, it would be a double whammy.
We're going to have to go to more weddings that are outside by highways.
We did go to a wedding recently, but it was drama-free and lovely.
It was drama-free, although I was sick.
You did. You got super sick. We had to bail before the dancing.
Couldn't dance. Let's see. Rory and Lorelai apologize to each other. It's all back to normal. There's a joke about fungus from the steam room. We close on the family dinner. Open with the dinner. Close with the dinner. A week in the life of Gilmore Girls. So Lorelai brings the blueberry shortcake.
Yes, leftovers. Emily's very offended.
Emily's offended by it. Use dessert. Is that really that offensive?
I would say absolutely not, but we're not rich.
We're not white, rich Connecticut.
I think Emily kind of enjoys looking for reasons to get offended, too. She's one of those.
Well, I also wrote here that she was really rubbing it in to Lorelai over the success of the trip to the golf course. I noticed that. She was really pushing that.
I feel sympathetic toward Emily at times, but in these early episodes, she's really pretty insufferable.
Emily is?
Yeah.
You know, I only watched parts of the A Year in the Life, and I ended up liking her by that. Am I going to get that same response through the season, or is she just an insufferable bitch throughout the whole thing?
No, she becomes more human, certainly, but it is her relationship with Richard and her love for him that really softens and humanizes her.
Yeah.
And you get that much more once Richard is gone. I think that the Year in the Life really, really upsets sympathy for her. Because she's generally pretty terrible.
Yeah. Emily wants Rory to join the golf club. I don't think they ever ended up doing that. I don't know.
Again, it's not something they ever bring up again.
Yeah, they don't golf again.
It's a one-time plot device.
Old Dick and Rory are bonding over books, and they're the same but different.
Which is kind of just family in a nutshell, isn't it?
They're all Gilmores. So that was the third episode. 3 down, 150 to go.
Or 29.
29. You really think you're sticking with the 32, huh?
I'm going to stick with it. I'm planting my flag.
32. I got to make it at least past that. So tune in next week to find out. See if I quit or not. I don't know. This has been Delpy Does the Gilmore Girls. See you next time.
Bye.